my mother purchased this land in October 1975, and that's the first time that I lived here in Longmont on this property. Is 1975 October.
And did she, at that point, was it a working farm?
No, at that point, if you want to know the history of how we are here, I was pregnant with Bruce's and my first child, and my mother decided that that person should be brought up on a farm. So she at the time was living in Denver as a teacher, and she came up to where I and Bruce were living in Longmont and said, I'll look for a farm that buy and you can raise my grandchildren there. So this farm, it was more like a horse property as opposed to a farm. And it was owned by people that worked at IBM, and they were being transferred to another state with IBM. So the property had been for sale for quite a while. The only building on it mainly was the house, and then there was a barn and a corral for horses. And those were the only structures that were here. There were very few trees. There was nothing being grown here. And she purchased the 6 acres, and Bruce and I moved on to the house that was here, and my mother still lived in Denver.
Okay. And did you keep it as horse property, or did you start then putting in?
We first started with horse property, and as my children got older, at least 5 years old, then we made it a 4-H farm. So we mainly started getting the animals because of 4-H. And we had chickens and ducks and sheep and pigs. Rabbits. Right. And so we did have a garden, but it was small. So we mainly had the animals that we did for 4-H projects. I was a 4-H leader and in Boulder County, and my kids were in the club, and it was called after a wild Twin Peaks sheep squadron, and because we mostly did Suffolk lambs.
Any things you want to say about working it or what she taught you?
Mostly a respect for the land. She did everything by hand. She picked the weeds. Our punishment was picking weeds. In raising the animals, it was mostly a labor of love. You know, she always had warm water for the chickens in the winter. She got us into different projects that even 4-H might not have said, you know, get into this project. You know, she was the one that says, we should do that, we should do this. So it's mostly my mother's background, because she had grown up on a farm in Oklahoma, and hadn't been on a farm for quite a while until we had this place, and so that was her dream come true again, to have the property.
Okay.